Welcome to my channel. Let's get started. So we'll be working on core and then a focus on the posterior hip strengthening with this as well. It'll be also just a little bit of general leg strengthening. We're going to use the blocks primarily and then have some kind of light-ish hand weights. You could use the bars or like bangles, or just like a pair of, light weights, like, a couple of pounds, 1 to 2, no more than kind of 2 pounds. Okay, let's get started. So, first exercise, we're going to grab the block and you're going to put it upright. And we're going to grab the weights. You can try this first without the weights. If it feels at all awkward with the weights, just ditch them. So we're going to bring your heel back so it's basically touching the block. And then feet are hip width apart, foot's like not too far behind you. I want you to think you're going to try to touch your calf back into the block as you sit, reaching those arms forward and then coming back up. Inhale, sit. Exhale, coming back up. So I think you're kind of driving, actually kind of trying to sit back to tap the block. You're going to feel that's driving back into the back of that hip. And then you can reach those arms forward. It kind of adds a little bit of counterbalance, as well as obviously giving you a little bit of work through your arms and shoulders. But as I said, if this feels like a lot of work, just ditch the weights. Focus on getting into the back of that hip. 2 more, driving back and up. Last one, sitting back into that hip and coming up. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So bringing that heel so that it's just touching the block, keeping that hip width distance of those feet. Make sure that foot's not too far behind you. Keep a fairly close stance. Drive back into that hip, gliding up. Driving back into the back of that hip. Lowering down. Gliding back. Doesn't matter if you're not touching the block, I just want you to think about trying to get back there with your calf. Really sinking back into those hips. And up. 4. Driving up. Definitely harder for me on this side. This is my side where I have a torn labrum. So it's a little bit more challenging for me than my replaced hip side. Last one. I've got to really focus, and driving up. Now you're going to come bring the block down onto the mat. One foot's going to come on top. We're focusing here on really keeping that pelvis really neutral here, so we're not letting it drop down. Using that weights again, counterbalance. This time you're going to tap, without letting that hip drop, tap that heel down to the mat, draw it back up, without letting it drop. Inhale, tap, exhale, draw it up. Inhale, tap, exhale, draw it up. Same thing. If it's feeling like too much with the weights, just pop them down. Tapping, drawing up. Inhale, tap, drawing up. Really press that big toe into the block. 2, and up. Last one, and up. Switching over onto the other side. Connecting through that whole foot, heel, big toe, tap that heel in front and driving up. Inhale, exhale, driving up. Sitting back into that hip that's on the block. Inhale, tap. Exhale, driving up. Connect through that big toe. 4, gliding up. And 3. Last 2. Last 1. Perfect. Now we're going to bring the block over to one side of the mat and we're going to come into a lateral lunge with this exercise. You're going to have one foot up on the block, other leg out. Make sure you're not too wide, but you want to have a decent amount of distance between your feet so that you can glide back. I want you to visualize you're bending into that foot, that back of that hip and knee that's on the floor. And imagine you're driving that butt back like into a wall behind you. Weights can act as a counterbalance. Gliding up. Inhale, sit back. Exhale, gliding up. Really gliding back into the back like you're gliding that sit bone into an imaginary wall that's right behind you. So focusing on that back into the back of that hip. Gliding back and up. 3 more. Gliding back into the back of that hip. 2 more. And up, last one. And up. Perfect. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So getting ready. Foot is up on the block. Make sure you've got that comfortable distance for you. Not too far apart, but far enough so that you can drive back into that hip that's on the floor. Of that foot that's on the floor. Gliding back, inhale. Exhale, coming up. Sitting back into that hip, inhale. Exhale up. Gliding back. Exhale up. Gliding back into that hip. Driving up. 4. And 3. Great, last 2. And last 1. Nicely done. Coming off the block. Quick little stretch. You can keep the weights or ditch them for this. I just want you to roll down through your spine. Letting everything relax at the bottom. Inhale. Exhale, segmental lift. 1 vertebrae at a time. 1 more time. Roll down through your spine. Let those arms relax. Don't have them forward like this. Think about them dangling right down to your feet. Inhale. Exhale, rolling all the way up. Great. Then we're going to come down onto the mat. Keep the space clear for the moment. We're going to do a little bit of back and forth, up and down on the mat. We're going to do a bear crawl. So coming to the one side, one end of the mat. Long, straight spine, long through the crown of your head. So we're not doing this. Think about lengthen the back of the neck. Exhale, hover. Step, step, and back, back. Lower down. Lift, step, step. I like to switch about which hand and leg I start with. You don't have to if it's already feeling really challenging. My brain just couldn't compute that. Step and back, back. Lift, step, step, back, back. Trying to minimize that shifting through your hips. Back, 2 more rounds. Step, step, back, back, hand lower. Last time. Step, step, back, back, and lower. Nicely done. Bring your knees out wide. Sit back into a child's pose. Take a nice breath in. Exhale, pull those palms towards your spinal wave to come up. Now we're going to do a little bit of kind of lower abdominal focused core training, pelvic stability. So I want you to have your hands grounded into something for this exercise. So you could grab onto the back of like a leg of a chair or something, just so it's got enough support to support like a bit of your body weight. Doesn't need all of it. I've looped a band around the leg of the chair just because it's a little bit too far back to give me just a little bit of support. So you're going to grab on, either you could grab onto a chair, something you can kind of anchor back, or use this band. So you kind of pull up into the band. The goal is we're keeping that connection through those ribs, so we're not flaring. And then I want you to relax, close those ribs. Feel that little bow tie there. And then I want to make sure you're not over compressing that low back. So keep those ribs connected, and then make sure you've got a little curve in your low back. Just that little, so you're not compressing down. Holding, holding. Exhale, toe tap. Inhale, bring it up. Exhale, switch. Inhale, raise. Exhale, inhale. These are hard. I'm also sore from what I did yesterday. So breathing. Talking right now is difficult. Really focus on that neutral spine. And up. And up. 3. And up. 2. And up. Last one. And up. Lowering all the way down. So see, if you don't want to grab a band, same thing. Just make sure your arms aren't too far overhead, that you can't keep that control with your spine. And then we're going to do it again. Same thing, you can go bent leg, or if you're feeling like more of a challenge, exhale, extend. Inhale, bring it back in. Exhale, extend. Woo. Drawing in. And draw it in. So go back, tapping close into your butt if it feels like too much. Almost there, 2. Drawing in, last one. Drawing in, nicely done. Give yourself a little hug. And then draw one foot down, other foot down, rolling with control onto your side. And then we're going to come onto your forearms. Starting with those hips elevated. Take a nice breath in. And then I want you to get that control through those ribs so we're not collapsed here. Ribs. And then make sure you're not tucking that butt under. So ribs and then just relax. So we've got that neutral spine without doing that. Ribs controlled. Tailbone relaxed. Subtle movement makes a lot of difference. Hover for me, bent knees. Exhale, rotate to one side, look over that shoulder. Knees come with you, good, inhale, center. Exhale, switch. Inhale to center and lower. Shift back, inhale. Exhale, come forward. Get that connection, hover. Exhale, shift. Inhale, center. Exhale, shift. Inhale, center and lower. Sit back. Exhale, shift, inhale, center, exhale, shift, inhale, center, and back. So we're getting some strength building in the transverse plane. This is so important because we do a lot of our daily activities in that plane of motion, and it's one of the weaker planes, particularly in women. One more time. Building strength will really help reduce pain. And back to center. And then we're going to finish coming back in all the way now into a plank. So bring those knees back. Feel that control first through that center of your body. One foot up, other foot up. Inhale, a little shift back with those hips. Exhale, draw forward. Inhale, a little shift back. Exhale, draw forward. Deep abs. And we're getting shoulder stability too. Inhale, draw back. Exhale, shoot forward. 2 more. Last one. Now sit down, drop down to your knees. Bring those knees apart, sit back into a child's pose. Take a nice deep breath in. And then exhale, pull those palms towards you. Spinal wave to come back up. We're going to come back, grab the block. I'm going to put the block underneath one foot. And then with control, coming all the way down onto your back. So we're going to start with your feet pretty close to your butt. So if you roll over, you could tap that block. And then now the goal is we're going to keep those hips really steady as you come up into that bridge. So we've got 1 foot elevated, 1 foot on the floor. Now you've got to control a little bit more through that stability. Don't let that side drop. And lower. And lower. So I want you to think tailbone is slowly lowering down by your glutes lengthening as you come down. Glutes contracting as we lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. 2. Last one. Now we've got that stability through those hips. Keep those hips steady. Use those hands for support. Exhale, extend that foot, bring it back down. Exhale, extend, bring it back down. Drawing that knee in as far as feels comfortable. Or you just do a little raise. I want you to keep that control really steady through that foot that's on the block. And lower, holding that isometric contraction through that muscle of that foot that's on the block. 2, and lower. Last one, and lower. Lowering all the way down. Nicely done. We're going to switch the block over onto the other foot. Stable hips. Inhale, tap that tailbone down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, tap. Exhale, lift. Inhale, tap. Exhale, lift. Really keeping that control through those hips and keeping that neutral spine. So I'm lowering that tailbone down. I'm not flaring ribs or arching or compressing through the back. It's just, I want you to think about hips. Hips bringing you up, hips bringing you down. Now come up and hold, lift, and lower. Lift, and lower, lift, and lower. Isometric contraction on that foot that's on the block. 3, and lower. 2, and lower. Hips really steady. Last one, and lower. And then coming all the way down. And then we're going to come, roll yourself up, grab that block again. We're going to bring it out. And you're going to bring the tops of your feet onto the block. And then I want you to roll back down. And now we're going to be scooted further away from the block. Glue the inside edges of your knees together and your feet. Now this is going to be a little more hamstring focused, particularly that distal hamstring that's closer down towards your knee. Really important to strengthen for your hips too, and your knees. Pressing and coming down, pressing up and lowering down, and lower, 2, and lower. Same thing, I'm keeping that neutral spine. It's easy sometimes when things feel a little challenging to want to do that. Think about hips. Don't worry about how far you come up. Think about hips. Last one. And lower. Perfect. Now you're going to bring your heels onto the block. Just going to have to bring it up a little bit higher. Let's see if we can stay balanced, otherwise we can stack 2. Drive your heels into the block. Flex through your feet. Exhale, extend. Inhale, lower. Exhale, extend. Inhale, lower. Same thing. Try not to do that. Hips and lower. Hips bring you up. Hips bring you down. Ribs relaxed and lower. So we're not doing that. Same thing. Doesn't matter if you don't come up far. We need to keep that control. This is coming from hips. Hips and back core. And lower. 3. And lower. 2. And lower. Last one. And lower. Nicely done. Bring one foot in, another foot in. Take a deep breath in. Reach your hands overhead. And now exhale. Grab onto the back of those thighs. Roll yourself up. We're almost done. Bring that block back down. Coming onto that forearm, bottom knee is bent, top leg is straight. Elbows a little in front of your hips. You're going to lift up, side body brings you up. Little small extension forward with those hips, and now you're in kind of one line. You're going to drive that top knee into the block. Lift that bottom knee to your top knee. You can keep that foot on the floor. Now wrap under and reach. Lift, wrap under and reach. Even if you're only lifting up just the tiniest bit, still really good. Even if you're only thinking about it, it's still going to create a lot more activation through those deep muscles in your hip as well as your obliques. One more. Wrap under. This is challenging. It should feel difficult. Coming all the way down, nicely done. Bend those knees, little side stretch. And then we're going to switch over onto the other side. Top foot on the block. Bottom knee bent, elbow in front of that hip. Press up, reach, lift. Inhale, wrap. Lift. Inhale, wrap. Lift. Inhale, wrap. Last three, lift. Inhale, wrap. Last two. Inhale, wrap. Last one. Inhale, wrap. Nicely done. Control lower back down. Slide those knees. Little stretch on that side. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, coming down. And then just pop the block off to the side. I'm just do a quick little hip stretch. Right knee on the floor, shimmy that left foot around. And now that left hip will be elevated. I want you to try to relax that left hip down onto the floor. And then you're just going to relax, let that left knee relax as much as you can. And then planting through your left hand, you're going to glide into your right hip, little side bend. Think about kind of reaching your right rib cage across as you sink back into both hips. Inhale, exhale, come up. Then we're going to switch. You're gliding into that left hip, reaching across with that left rib cage. Inhale, exhale, coming up. Little lean forward. Inhale, breathe into the back, like right between your shoulder blades. Exhale, coming up tall. And now glide that left knee around towards your right shoulder. Lift up really tall through that spine. And then just do a nice gentle rotation over to the left. Gentle rotation. Like a rotation that feels good, like you can still just breathe absolutely normally. And then slowly unwind. And then we're going to go on to the other side. So slowly unwind those legs. Left knee is going to come down. Shimmy that right foot across. Now you're going to drop into that right hip. Try to let that right knee relax. You'll feel more, I'm very tight in my hips. But thinking about trying to let that knee relax. And then same thing, we're going to plant into those right fingertips, gliding into that left hip, reaching that left rib cage across as you drop into that right hip. Inhale, breathe into your left ribs. Exhale, come up. And then we're going to switch. Plant through those left fingertips. You're going to glide into that right hip, reach that right rib cage across. Deep breath in. Exhale, coming up. Bring those hands forward, little sit forward. Inhale between your shoulder blades. Exhale, coming up, and then grabbing onto that outside of that right knee, gliding it over towards that left shoulder, and then a little gentle rotation. It can be really small, just gentle, making sure you can just take nice, relaxing breaths. Then slowly unwinding. And then last thing, last stretch, coming for me into this wide frog-legged stretch. Inside edges of your feet are on the mat or on the floor. And out as wide as feels comfortable with those knees. You're going to sit back into those hips. I want you to think kind of sit bones reaching back. Try and think hips, not low back. Exhale, a little shift forward and then reach the outside edge of one foot up. And then shift back again. And switch. So this is an internal rotation in the hip. Really, really good for your hip and your pelvic floor. As well, getting a nice stretch in through your inner hip and those adductors. Little shift back and reach. Two more, little shift back and reach. Last one, little shift back and reach. Bring those knees together. Curl up through that spine. Take a nice breath in between your shoulder blades. And then exhale. Gently release. And we're done. Please let me know how that worked for you.